Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. If you have watched our videos already, welcome back. Today we are going to review a language learning game called Noun Town. Based on the description, it can help you expand your vocabulary in more than 10 languages, especially in the field of nouns. I generally support the idea of learning through games because we can study at our own pace and there is no peer pressure. Besides, we know whether we made a mistake immediately. Luckily, the game will only tell us, let's try again, but a teacher may tell us, you are wrong again. This will keep our motivation high. If you are curious about me, I am a native speaker of Mandarin Chinese and I'm fluent in English and German. I have a background of linguistics and teaching German as a second language. I personally want to do 3 reviews of Noun Town. Today is the first one. For Noun Town, I'm going to not only review the operation in the game, but also from a linguistic perspective. Let's first start with the operation in the game. I will choose Chinese as my source language and German as my target language. Let's get started. Now we are in the game and the first impression is that the loading is very slow. Not only the launching loading, but also the in-game loading. I will show you in-game later. Okay, the UI is loaded. Let's choose to continue. Here we are in our room. I have played for 3 days, so my room is colorful already. I don't know who this orange animal is, and of course, I don't know who this green plant is, but they have been living here since the second day of my gameplay. I cannot talk to them. The moving in this game is easy just by clicking the mouse or using WASD. If you have gaming experience, this shouldn't be difficult for you. Now let's go to other places and find some nouns to learn. As you can see, I made progress in the game. More places are accessible to me. So let's go and find something to learn. Can we go here? The learning in Noun Town works like this. There are noun boxes, so the orange boxes here. You can interact with them by pressing the spacebar. After pressing the spacebar, one object will be lifted over your head. And in the corner up right, you can see the spelling and the meaning. In the corner down right, you can see the interactions you can do with this object or with this noun. Let's give it a try. Let's first listen to it.
Die Mütze.
And then practice. So the practice can be audio input or just like what I'm showing here, so spelling. It depends on the input method you chose. Here I choose to spell. So 5 nouns in this game build one learning round. After learning 5 nouns, you cannot interact with other noun boxes, and the boxes also turn gray.
Die Shorts.
Let's first finish the learning. So what you should do now, after learning 5 nouns, you should go to this little machine here. You should do the test and save your game progress. This is also the only way to save game progress in the game. So let's do it. So we finished the test and our game progress is now saved. What I think can be improved here is the instruction to save the game. Several times I forgot to save my game progress and just left the room. And of course, I wondered in the upcoming days why the nouns started to repeat. So what's more interesting in Noun Town is that you have learning mode and you have building mode. And you can switch between the 2 modes by clicking the button in the corner down left. So here, in learning mode, you can learn the nouns. In building mode, you can place the objects however you want. This also means you can decorate the room however you want. I personally think it's a positive aspect. Another interaction you can find in Noun Town is talking with different characters. So for example, we have one character here. Those characters are pre-made and they all have different personalities. When talking with one character,
Hey,
So the character will say something, but is not necessarily beginner friendly. And of course, you can translate it into your source language by pressing the translation button here. After clicking OK, 3 options will pop up. So you can chat, you can ask questions, and you can just leave the conversation. If you click on chat, the character will say something, and of course, it is not necessarily beginner friendly. And of course, you can translate. So click OK to leave the conversation. And in the option Ask Question, you have 3 different domains to ask. And of course, the 4th option is to leave the conversation. You can choose one out of the 3 domains. After choosing one, a question will be presented to you. And you can choose to speak or spell. So if you choose to spell, a mini word order game will pop up. And you need to bring the words into correct order. And the character will respond to you. And of course, the answer doesn't need to be necessarily beginner friendly. And what more interesting is you have this mini speed choosing game. So you must make sure that you have headphone on or your sound is on. The game will randomly pronounce the nouns you have just learned, and you must choose the corresponding noun as fast as possible. So I haven't figured out where to use the points I got. Overall, the operation is easy and straightforward, but I think the instruction in the game can be more clear. Of course, the loading time must be reduced, otherwise it will impact the gaming experience too much. So let's now turn to the linguistic part. I will give you an introduction of the linguistic knowledge I'm going to share with you. So let's leave the game. Welcome to the linguistic part of this video. First of all, please allow me to tell you why I want to share this knowledge with you. Well, it's because when we learn a word, we learn more than a word. So a word is a combination of sound and a string of letters. Let's just take the word as an example. So we have a sound part, so word, so which is the sound. And we also have a form on the paper, so word, a string of 4 letters, which is the form on the paper. So when we learn a word, we learn both the sound and the form on the paper. However, the sound and the form on the paper are not random. They correspond to each other. So just like this. This means when we hear a sound, we can sort of imagine its form on the paper. And when we see a form on the paper, we can sort of imagine how it sounds. So there is an interface between sounds and form on the paper. And this interface is called grapheme-phoneme correspondence. Different language has its different grapheme-phoneme correspondence. Here is a chart I found on internet for the grapheme-phoneme correspondence in English. And as you can see, is not very regular. However, the German grapheme-phoneme correspondence is highly regular, and this means what you see is how you read. That's why we say German is a highly phonographic language. So next, I want to talk about syllable, and my focus will be on structure of a syllable. To make it easy, I want to take the verb run as an example. So run, we have this form on the paper, and of course we can transcript it with the IPA symbols and then also to the phonemes. So run is a verb with 1 syllable and it has a full syllable structure. Why I say a full syllable structure? Well, it has a consonant as onset, a vowel as nucleus, and a consonant as coda. So it has everything. That's why I say it's a full structure. And of course, you see syllable without onset. For example, ice. It doesn't have a consonant on the onset position. And there are syllables without coda. For example, C. It doesn't have a consonant at the end. And of course, there are syllables only with nucleus. Well, let's say the personal pronoun I. It only has nucleus. We also have words with two syllables. For example, the word bedroom. So we can transcript it. And as you can see, bedroom has two vowels here. It is definitely a word with two syllables. Here we must decide which consonant belongs to which syllable. And here we follow the rule maximal onset. This means when we decide which consonant belongs to which syllable, we must make sure that the onset is the biggest for both syllables. So for the first syllable, so is easy because it only has one onset. But for the second syllable, wu, it can be difficult because it has two consonants here, both de and ro. English allows both de and ro as onset, and it doesn't break the sonority hierarchy, and that's why the separation must be done between and de, and that's why this word is read as bedroom instead of bedroom. After talking about this, I want to talk about syllable joint. In German, it's called Silbengelenk. In German, people talk about it a lot, and in English, not that often. But we can also see syllable joint in English. So syllable joint basically helps you separate syllables when reading words on paper. It tells you where a syllable starts and where a syllable ends. For example, the English word sudden. So the de is clearly the coda of the first syllable and at the same time the onset of the second syllable. So the de here is a syllable joint. How do we make it come true on the paper? Well, we write the D double, and that's why we see the form sudden. So the double D here is a syllable joint. When we read this word, we make the separation between the two Ds, and in this way we can also sort of know that both vowels here are short. To finish this part, let's talk about the features of the German language. So first of all, German is a highly phonographic language, meaning writing and sound correspond. And this also means what you see is how you read. Second, for German main clause, you always put the conjugated verb in second position. And third, German noun has gender. So fourth, German noun has three gender classes, masculine, feminine, and neuter, but only in singular. The gender is expressed through different functional words. For example, definite article, indefinite article, and adjectives. Some dictionaries use der, die, das, so basically the definite article to tell the gender, masculine, feminine, and neuter respectively. So fifth, the gender difference disappears in plural. And sixth, German's non-gender assignment is not so regular, but some affix can reach a reliability of 100%. This means when you see an affix, you can, sort of know the gender of the noun. And seven, the plural form building in German is not so regular either. With this knowledge in our mind, we can now go back to the game, and I will show you the deficits I found. Well, there are at least deficits in my opinion. Welcome back to the game. Through the linguistic part, we know that learning words is more than just learning a sound and how it's right. We are also learning the interface between the sound and the writing. Now I'm going to give you some examples from the game, both good examples and bad examples. I think the good examples can really help you, while the bad examples may slow you down. And let's start with the good examples first. So all good examples share the same features. First of all, the syllables are separated correctly. Second, the graphemes are not disturbed. Let's start with our first good example, and the example is Zigarette. Let's listen to the pronunciation.
Die Zigarette.
And let's spell it. So, die Zigarette. As you can see, the syllable is separated correctly and even the syllable joint is respected, I think it's a really good example. It can definitely help the learner learn the grapheme-phoneme correspondence in German and also internalize the German spelling rule. And let's now go to the second good example. And the second good example is Lampe. Let's listen to it.
Die Lampe.
And spell it. So, die Lampe. As you can see, the syllables are separated correctly, and I think it can definitely help the learner learn the spelling rule in German. So the third good example is here in the bakery and is Kuchen. Let's listen to the pronunciation.
Der Kuchen.
And let's spell it. Der Kuchen. Maybe you want to argue with me because the second syllable in this word is separated. However, this separation also respects the grapheme in German. So the combination ch, in German we say ch, are treated as a unit. It can definitely help the learner learn the grapheme. And that's why I call it a good example. Please don't get me wrong, there are also other good examples in this game. I'm just showing you 3 of them. After talking about the good examples, let's talk about some bad examples. And bad examples all have their own problems. So the first bad example I want to show you is Rindfleisch. Let's pick it up. Listen to the pronunciation.
Das Rindfleisch.
And let's spell it. Das Rindfleisch. Well, to be honest, I don't know why Noun Town made this decision, but as you can see, the F and L are definitely on the onset position of the second syllable. They belong to the next word, or let's say the next syllable. However, Noun Town put them together with the first word, which I think is totally wrong. And Rindfleisch here is a compositum. In German, usually you just put the separation between the word boundary, and that is enough. So let's now go to the second bad example. So the second bad example I want to show you is Getränk. When you try to spell it, you can see das Getränk. Well, first of all, the syllables are not separated correctly. Second, there is a prefix in this word. So Getränk comes from trinken, which means to drink. Usually, when you know the verb trinken, you will not forget the meaning of Getränk. However, Noun Town doesn't give us this chance to learn. So the combination ge, in German we say ge, is a prefix with gender indication function. It usually indicates that the gender of this word is neuter. Since it's a prefix, I don't think it's appropriate to put another letter or here another grapheme onto it. It cannot help the learner to associate neuter to ge or ge. Third bad example, also in this room, is Stäbchen. And Stäbchen actually has 2 problems. Let's first start with the first problem. When you spell it, you see the Stäbchen and then hen. Well, again, I don't know why Noun Town made this decision, but this is totally wrong. It's because ch together here are one grapheme, meaning they shouldn't be separated. So grapheme shouldn't be separated. Now let's talk about the second problem here. The second problem is mixing singular with plural. So Stäbchen actually has a suffix and is hin. This suffix has a reliability of 100% to indicate gender neuter. So usually it's das Stäbchen. Why we see die Stäbchen here is because the singular form of Stäbchen and the plural form of Stäbchen are the same. And that's why we see die Stäbchen here. And I personally don't think singular and plural should be mixed together. And This example cannot help the learner learn that hian is always combined with gender neuter. Actually, you can find a similar problem with the word Schuhe. Actually, it's der Schuh, die Schuhe. However, Noun Town presents that word as die Schuhe. Die Schuhe is the plural form. However, this game only shows one shoe. Maybe you think it's not a big problem, but I can tell you why it's important not to make singular form and plural form. It's because gender also plays a role in plural building in German. When the learner assumes that the singular form is die Schuhe, they may assume that the plural building is die Schuhen. However, this is not correct. The correct form is der Schuh, die Schuhe. And talking about plural, I have to say that most of the nouns here in the German learning section are in singular form. I wonder when and how Noun Town wants to integrate plural form into this game for the German learning section. And as I said in the linguistic part, the German plural building is not so regular. Now let me show you the last bad example I want to show you, and that is Marmelade. So when you try to spell it, you see die Marmelade. And again, I don't know why Noun Town made this decision and decided to separate so from the first syllable. It doesn't make any sense. I haven't fully checked the translation in this game. So far, I found only one mistake, but I think it's a really severe one. The character said my Rücken. So here in English, it means my back. However, in Chinese, it's translated as my return. I don't think a real translator will make this mistake. So I hope Noun Town can pay more attention to translation in the future. This mistake is totally unacceptable. This is my honest review of Noun Town for the German learning section. With the linguistic knowledge I shared with you, you can see that learning words is more than just memorizing a string of letters. Its corresponding sound also comes into play, and we also need to remember which sound corresponds to which combination of letters. And as I showed you above, there are more rules to respect when it is about language. Hence, I would say there is a big room for improvement, at least in the German learning section. And of course, the integration of learning with games is a brilliant idea. So I'm looking forward to testing the Chinese learning section. So it's the section of my native language. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay awesome and see you in the next video. Bye!